In terms of college planning, I will be going over what I call the big picture. A little bit about myself. I do have a couple of books that are available on Amazon. The first one, Pay for College Without Sacrificing Your Retirement, related to the information we will be covering, in addition to unconventional investing. I also give talks based off of the information from both of the books on a regular basis, and you can find dates and locations for those talks at collegeplusretirement.com. I like to have fun and also hopefully educate at the same time when I give these presentations, and some of the questions that I like to ask the audience to get them warmed up are the following. Why do some schools call themselves colleges while others call themselves universities? The primary difference is that universities typically offer graduate programs, have multiple schools, while colleges do not and focus on undergraduate education. There are some exceptions, of course, Dartmouth and BC, Boston College, but for the most part, that is the difference. When I ask an audience how much college cost, and being in the Boston area, this is going to be very New England centric, but typically I get answers whether it's 20,000, 40,000, 60,000. What they're really doing is quoting the 1 year cost and trying to help people expand their vision of what they will be tackling. I want them thinking more holistically. We need to look at how we're going to pay all 4 years, not just 1 year. So the parallel would be an infomercial where they're selling something and they say it's 4 easy payments at $39.95. It does not cost $39.95. And if a school had to put down their 4 year cost, and what if some of them approaching $250,000, if that was the price tag that families were looking at, I think that they would give this a little bit more thought and have more thorough planning heading into this. Which of the following colleges tend to have the highest starting salary for recent graduates? Info we can find at payscale.com, and we see three private schools and a public university. This is a little bit eye-opening for people because the answer is UMass Lowell. It's not Holy Cross, Tufts, or BU. They're all very close in the rankings. And the real reason is that UMass Lowell has a strong engineering program. So if people, not that it's everything, but if they're looking at return on investment and what a student may be earning after graduation, more focus may be put on making a smart decision on which major they choose, not spending 100% of their time on the admissions game and which college they're getting into. Who made more profits in 2012 as reported by USA Today? ExxonMobil, Apple Computer, or the US government off of student loans? And if you're picking up a trend in terms of the types of questions that I'm asking and the types of answers that I'm looking for, it is the US government off of student loans. And it's not a political statement, it's simply to say and tell families that this is big business for a lot of entities. And nobody's going to tell you that you're borrowing too much. The government's not, colleges are not, high schools are not, and probably your friends and family aren't going to either. So you really have to look out for yourself, and ideally all of this is to try and help the student not get uh, in over their heads in addition to the parents as well. This was you could see it's handwritten, but I thought it's personal. People can relate to this, and it's also eye-opening. So this parent and really the message that it's sending is that the game has changed. It's a lot different now than it was when you, if you're a parent watching this, you went to school. So this parent went to school from 1980 to 84 at Boston College, terrific school, and the cost was 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 a year. Now you're looking at 65, 66,000 a year. It's a lot different. And it's not just Boston College, it's across the board with many of these schools. So a lot of the truisms um, that pertain to that era, that time when parents went to college, may not be true anymore. We need to think about this differently than maybe how you did your college planning if you are. And ultimately, this is a major theme of my book, as the title indicated. We need to think about your own goals as well. But this is an excellent slide to share with students because it can be eye opening for them as well. And believe me, I think they do get it. Um, this is generalizing, but everybody shares three primary financial goals: home ownership, sending their kids to college, and being able to stop working at some point in time in the future, retirement. They're all tied together. Now, a private college costing 65,000 a year, we multiply that by 4, that's 260,000. You have two kids, you may be looking at 520,000. Are these dollar amounts roughly the same amount you paid for your home? Or if you were to look for a vacation home, and how many years does the bank give you to pay off that loan? Typically, it's 30 years. Are you going to, because we are talking about the same dollar amounts here for college, are you going to be attempting to pay off this for 30 years? Most won't. And on top of that, most of the loans for colleges and tuition are 10 years in term, not 30 years. So we're dealing with the same dollar amount, high priced investment, shorter time frame. In addition to that, it's going to be overlapping what your retirement years timeline would be. And if we were thinking 30 years, just having some fun with the math, take your youngest child, figure out the year that they will be graduating from college, add 30 years to that, how old would that make you? And like I said, the big picture here is that how we get through the college goal is linked to your retirement, when you can retire and how much you can retire on. So let's try to do this as efficiently as possible. I think the best way to do this is actually stealing a line from Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind, but work backwards here. So we need to look at retirement first so that we can better answer how much you're willing or you can pay for college. There's no right or wrong answer, but you're driving the process here. For example, if I were to say to a mom, are you willing to work an extra 2 years so that we can afford school B versus school A? The answer may be yes, the answer may be no. You need to figure out that answer, and crunching those numbers helps us do that. So look at your own goals first, work backwards, and I believe that's the more efficient way of handling this planning process more holistically. So, again, high level questions and big picture here. Why are we sending students off to college? And time again, the more I ask this, the more it's in line with what some of the studies show us. Now, the true purpose of going to college isn't always linked to jobs, but that's a major driving force. It is for parents and it is for students. Now, college can also help with personal growth, critical thinking skills, helps them develop their own personality. Some parents joke that it gets them out of the house. To that, I would say if we don't do this efficiently, guess where they're coming back to? So we need to give this some more thought. UCLA did a study where they asked almost 200,000 incoming freshmen over 283 four-year colleges why they're attending school, and almost 90% said it was about getting a better job. So that's one proof source. Interestingly enough, there was a Pew Research study done polling college presidents saying what's the true role of college, and over half said it was not job transition, and I don't blame them. Um, they promote the emotional and intellectual growth and curiosity of the student. The more romantic view of what college should stand for, and I don't disagree, but at a certain point, price point, We need some ROI. We need a nice balance of the two, so we just don't want to ignore one or the other. Now, if this is the ultimate end goal, if it is about career, just like we talked about beginning with the end in mind with looking at retirement first, I think we should be working backwards here. And everybody's going to have different price points. So how much are you willing to spend? 20,000, 120, 260. Everybody's going to have different amounts. Getting through a 4-year undergraduate institution to get that piece of paper, everybody's going to be paying different amounts. But to get to the career you want, there may be many paths we can take, and it's not always determined by the school you choose. It can help, but it's not going to be the only factor. So if you can't afford 260,000 or what many people label as the elite private colleges, there's certainly other ways to get to your end goal, your career. You just have to think and do things a little bit differently, because if you get a great internship, you get a good GPA at a strong school, you have strong personal connections. These are all other ways to get to your career and maybe not having to pay that 260. All we're really trying to do is not close any doors and make sure that we look at all different opportunities that may be available to you in order to get what you want, which is ultimately the goal here. I don't think there's any better analogy than comparing colleges to cars, because the big question is, does driving an Audi get you to your destination faster than a Buick? The debate isn't, is an Audi better than a Buick? Most people would agree that it is. Not everybody, but most. A lot would. More bells and whistles, better sound system, maybe more horsepower. Same is true with colleges. So the more expensive ones, more elite ones, the ones that ranked higher in U.S. News may have better facilities, better campus. Um, Not everybody would agree with that, but many would. But does it get you to your destination faster? So that's the big question. The only thing that I can tell you that is true is that there's going to be different price points here. So again, many different ways to skin this cat. Keep your options open. And for the 17 and 18-year-olds, and a message to mom and dad, this is a huge emotional decision. I totally get it. Unfortunately, cost isn't brought up when many students are putting together their college list, because for the most part, high schools can't go there. It's none of their business. How would you feel if your son or daughter came home and they were asking you to tell guidance what you make? You probably would say, I don't think I want to divulge that information. So, unfortunately, this is like a real estate agent showing you homes not knowing what your budget is. It's a big ticket investment and expense. We need to add that element to this equation to complement what the hardworking people in guidance at the high schools do offer. And by the way, that Naviance program that they spend a few $1,000s on is a high powered program that you certainly want to rely on. One parent, just to tell a quick story, was attending one of my talks, raised her hand, and said, my nephew is a teacher. He went to BC and regrets every day that he went there. Why? Because he's now got six-figure debt, and that was the only way to afford Boston College. So the debate is not whether BC is a good school. It's a fantastic school, just like an Audi's a fantastic car. That doesn't mean it was the right buying decision for that person, given the career they wanted to choose and how they were going to have to pay for it. We need to figure all this out in advance and be proactive. One of the traps that many students fall into is only trying to seek prestige or US News rankings, or going for their reach school, playing the admissions game. Again, this is a buying decision. One of the great quotes was put forth by Professor Alan Kruger of Princeton after doing a lot of analysis on future earning potential and comparing SAT scores of various students, where they could or could not get into college at the undergraduate level. And his conclusion was, or what he was quoted as saying, is, don't believe that the only school worth attending is the one that would not admit you. Perhaps your reach school. That you go to a college is more important than where you go. Find a school whose academic strengths match your interests, that's your key, what your passion is, and that devotes resources to instruction in those fields. Recognize that your own motivation, ambition, and talents will determine your success more than the college name on your diploma. Going back to the previous analogy with the various cars, he's basically confirming that. You determine your success and how fast you get there. Are some schools going to offer better facilities than others? Yeah, possibly, but they all have different price tags as well. So you want to find the right fit for you. But this should also emphasize the fact that there's many different ways to do this and to get to your goal, your end destination. Um, Many different vehicles can help you get there, many different institutions. Keep your options open. So ultimately, what is the big picture? And looking at the X and Y axes running through each other, there are four different quadrants here. The more affordable colleges for your family moving up vertically, the more desirable ones moving to the right on the screen. Most people get trapped in the bottom right corner, which is desirable but not very affordable. This is where, hey, if you test drive a BMW, are you going to like it? Of course you are. Is your student going to fall in love with it? Probably. Now you have to pay for it. And if that's the only type of vehicle, or making the parallel to colleges, if you're only looking at elite private colleges that may not offer a lot of aid, which is a whole different discussion on another video they'll be putting forth, then you're going to be trapped in that bottom right hand corner. Where we want to be, hopefully, and what the big picture is trying to emphasize, and what Alan Kruger's quote is emphasizing, is you can go to desirable schools but have a couple that are affordable as well. The sweet spot is in the upper right hand corner, and that's ultimately what my course, the seminars that I give, and my book is trying to help families evaluate. Because, like I said before, unfortunately, many of the high schools or other people giving guidance to you in your college decision aren't discussing the cost or your finances on how you can pay for it. So we need to add that element to the equation. And hopefully there'll be some options in the upper right hand corner for you. That's the big picture.